Video 6, I was just reflecting on, the many different pieces of advice and direction and input and guidance and recommendations that we get from our circles and our friends and our mentors and loved ones. The list goes on. And we have to always take all those things into consideration. At the end of the day, we have to choose the best path for us. And when I think about LinkedIn, for years I've gotten advice on, your profile is so wordy and, why not trim it down and so on and so forth. And I always listen and reflect on that advice and that feedback from my friends, people that are far more successful than I am financially, or roles they've had in organizations or whatever. And so you have to take it all into consideration. But my entire career has been unconventional. I mentioned in the last video that while I was talking about accountability, none of the jobs that I've ever had in the last 25 years were jobs that I applied for and was selected for and then just received that title and given that responsibility. Every job I've had since, my whole life actually was created for me by all the organizations that I've mentioned. And that's, I would say, somewhat unique for someone to, as an employee or a contractor versus an entrepreneur, to be able to create your own position wherever you go, more or less. It's been a blessing. And, one crazy story about, my LinkedIn profile may not look like anyone else's, and that's okay. And I don't put buzzwords, keywords in it. I'm not going to post these videos on the right time for the algorithm because I'm not worried about maximum reach. I'm worried about whatever my message is or whatever my profile represents or whatever this video says. My only concern is that it finds the right person, because it isn't about, I don't have to reach everybody. I just have to reach the right person. And so one crazy story as an example of this is, I don't know, somewhere around 10 years ago, I think it was, I was on a run on Christmas Eve, of all places, in Forest Park in Portland, Oregon. And I got a phone call, and usually I don't answer numbers that I don't recognize. But I took this call, and on the other end was, "Hi, I'm calling on behalf of the president of Pepsico, and he'd like to talk with you about a role as vice president of innovation. Would you be interested?" And I was like, whoa. Oh, and she added, he was looking through LinkedIn. He came across your profile. He's very interested to have a conversation with you. And so there you go. The way I present myself on LinkedIn, it's not for everybody, but that's a great example of a cold call from someone, working at the time in a high leadership position in a $60 billion company. And the whole process, which I can go into another time, but it led to a 3-month interaction with meetings and offers to ride on the the Pepsi jet, whatever. In the end, I didn't get the job. I was in the top 2, and I'm not an Ivy League graduate, and I overplayed my hand, to give you the short version of it. More or less, it was almost my job to lose, but that's probably another story for another video. That would lead into another piece of information that I've learned along the way, is that every job you get to interview for, you may as well treat it as it's your job to lose, because you've gotten asked to sit at the table, you've gotten asked to have a conversation, present yourself, discuss the opportunity. At that point, you have to play everything within your power to be offered that role. And that's winning in that environment. But that's, again, another video. But this one is about my profile, about how we present ourselves, about how we consider inputs from others. You can talk intuition, you can talk God's guidance. You can talk a lot of different points of influence that we all experience in our lives. So at the end of the day, just you have to be good with who you are. You have to be confident. You have to believe in yourself. And don't be arrogant. Stay humble. Receive input from everyone. Reflect on it. Powers beyond ourselves communicate to us through various means, different people. Things I call Jesus, Holy Spirit, God. You may call it something else. That's okay. But we exist in a very powerful reality, and we should all do our best to position ourselves to be successful in it. So thanks for your time, and I'll see you for the next video. Hopefully this makes sense. I just kind of came to me, so I'm throwing it up. All right. Take care. Have a great day.